So, Cydrannu is the name of our new knowledge sharing series for procurement and commercial professional in Wales. For the non-Welsh speakers, Cydrannu means sharing together in Welsh, and that's core to what Cyd is all about. As I said, by recording today's session, we can make it available on our website to share the content as widely as possible. As well as webinars and online content, we also plan to complement these with some face-to-face sessions to let those of you who'd like to get together in person. So please keep an eye out for those on our social media and on our website. We'll be looking at the topics and issues facing procurement and commercial communities in Wales, and we'll be hearing from guest speakers and community members who'll share their experience and hopefully spark some good conversations and connections. The focus of today's session is international good practice in procurement and commercial approaches. We're very grateful to be joined by Gweminar Ibarra from EOB, the Environment Agency of the Basque Government. And I'm sure I didn't quite get that pronunciation right, so forgive me, please, Gweminar, and please correct me when you start speaking. Gweminar is responsible for the Basque Country's 2030 Basque Green Public Procurement Programme that launched in February 2022. We'll then hear from Warren Smith from the Cyd delivery team, who'll be talking to us a bit about the work that Cyd is doing to share good practice and insights. And as I explained, there'll then be time for questions. You can ask your question yourself or drop it into the Q&A if you prefer, and I'd be happy to ask it for you. So let's get started, and I'm going to hand you over to Gweminar. So croeso, Gweminar.
Okay, thank you very much, Victoria. Well, first of all, I have to apologize because my level of English is quite medium. So don't worry, Victoria, because my English pronunciation is quite medium also. So don't worry. Well, first of all, I also I would like to say thank you very much to Wales government for inviting the Basque government to explain our experience in green procurement. So thank you very much for the invitation, really. Okay, and next slide, please. Well, in 1 second, and who are we? We are Basque Country are in the north of Spain. We are very close autonomous region in the north of Spain. We have more like 2 million inhabitants, and we have a very important history, industrial history. Okay, it's a little bit to know who are we. Okay. And then I have 20 minutes more or less to explain our experience. So I begin to explain our experience to us. Okay, so next slide, please. Well, here you can see our trajectory in green public procurement. Okay, we began in 2000, and two, when very local or very specific experience, but we started more concentrate or better in 2008. Okay, in 2008. We had the first commitment in the Basque government. Basque government is the highest administration in Basque country. In Basque country, we have a lot of different level of administration. It's quite complex, but the highest level of administration is Basque government. Okay, so in 2008 we had the first commitment in the Basque government. In this year, it was really important for us because we started to think how to organize the green public procurement in the region, in the Basque country, with different alliances, and we think also developing environmental criteria. It was our really point to starting point. Okay. And in this period of time, it was really important for us also to develop of environmental criteria. In Europe, were some environmental criteria, but we had a very one thing very clear, that the environmental criteria had to be very realistic and very connected with the Basque market. Okay, so we started to create this environmental criteria. This we the methodology that we done for create this environmental criteria was that we done the first criteria, and that consolidate, or we ask to the administration or to the companies, to the industry, which were the opinion of this type of criteria, okay? Because we want, as I have said, we wanted a very realistic criteria. It's important to introduce environmental criteria in tenders, but if you don't have a very good answer, a very good response of the market, things doesn't work. Okay, so for us was really important this methodology to create this environmental criteria. So we started with this environmental criteria. We started also working with different level of administration in different groups. And in 2011, we approved our first green public procurement program in the Basque Country. This first program was only for the Basque government, for one level of administration, and it was our first steps. Okay, in organization, in working together, and working with the market, with the administration, it was like a pilot for us. Okay. And in 2014, we finished this first program, and we elaborate the second one. The second one was from 2019 to 2020. Okay, and this is a very period of time in green public procurement in the Basque Country, because here we have a little bit of experience in previous experience. We have more knowledge in environment and connected with the contracting or the procurement, and we had more clear the things that we wanted to get. Okay, so for us this period is important. That's the reason, because I explained you slower this type of period, and how to close this second program, and how to elaborate the actual or the other one. Okay, the following one. Okay, next. In this second program, okay, in this second program, in the first program, the first program was only for the Basque government. This second program was for all level of administration. Okay, we get one step more. Okay, here you can see the goals of this second program. One of our goals was that the green public procurement has to be a tool for our administration to be more efficient. Okay. The other one, it was really important for us, is that the green public procurement has to be connected with our market. They are not two different things, are the same things, are two sides of the same the same thing. Okay, and the third one was to recognize the efforts in the Basque Country to be recognized in the south of Europe, no, like leader in green public procurement. These were our three goals, and to get the goals, we have 5 strategic lines, no, with 19 concrete actions to get these goals. Okay, these 5 strategy lines. One was connected with criteria, with technical criteria, with technical tools. Okay, the second one was related to procedures. We didn't want a very concrete tender with environmental criteria. We need that the environment, the green public procurement has to be one thing more implemented in procedures, okay? The third one, very important, training, skill building, and awareness raising, okay? At that moment, the environmental criteria was very difficult for technicians, and technicians didn't have information about this. So for us, has been very important line. The fourth line was a coordination with the market. I have said that it's really important to introduce environmental criteria. We need answer for the market. And the other one, the last one, the strategic lines, is the communication, dissemination, and networking. For us, it's really important. We are very close region, okay? And we are in the same market. So in one administration, introduce environmental criteria good or well in a tender, and isn't successful, the other one, next one, can do it because we are in the same market and we are in the same, yes, in the same region, okay? And one of the very important things that being a little region is that we have, we are very connected between us, vale? We have a very quite close relationship with all level of administration, as also with the market. So we have quite easy to connect or to give best practice one to another. Okay. Next slide, please. Right. When we finish this program, here you can see the results of this second program. I repeat, a very important program for us, okay? The level of green criteria, as you can see here, is 37% in tenders, in number of tenders, and 35% in euros, okay? So we didn't get the objective that we had in the program, but for us was quite good results, okay? We were very optimistic when we done the program. Then, connected with the strategy lines, we show that the training strategic lines and the communication and dissemination strategy lines had a very high degree of execution, okay? Then we have connected and tool of the technical criteria and technical tool had a medium high degree of execution, the same that the integration in the procedural procedures, okay? And the worst line, the worst strategy line was the coordination with the market, okay? Here you can say that in general, the program was more or less quite high level of executions, but it depends on the strategy line we have to force or in the next program, okay? Next slide, please. Okay, here in this program, we show that we have 3 different items really important to get these results, no? One is really important is the alliance with the Department of Economy and Finance, okay? We are competent in the environment, and they are competent in the contracting of the bus administration, okay? So the Department of Environmental and the Department of Economy and Finance are the perfect team, well, for green public procurement, okay? So we tell them what we want and they done it, okay? So for us, it's really, really important. Then other important item for us is that we have a group of administration that are leaders in green public procurement. We name it affiliated entities. They have the green public procurement inside of the policies, and they are very convinced us in this agent. So for us, it's really important because they are the leaders. The other level of administration can see that things can do it, and we co-design the programs and we'll co-design the activity of the green public procurement in the Basque Country with them. Okay, they know very good that to introduce to introduce environmental criteria sometimes is not easy, but we have to do the effort. So for us, it's really important doing this type, this group of leader administration. Okay, and for us it's also really important that IOBE has been since the beginning of the history, the technical secretariat of the program. Okay, and I think that is important because we push the program. Sometimes it's not so easy. Sometimes you have to animate the administration and you have to put tools and you have to do a lot of things now, because the administration have their work. Sometimes they have time to more time to introduce environmental criteria. Sometimes they have no so time, so it's not easy. So if you had an eye to push the program, is better. Okay. Next slide, please, Victoria. But there are other things that is not so good. Okay, and we identified when we closed the program that nowadays green public procurement can be legal requirement, but some administration consider it like voluntary. So for us, it's very important to anchor green purchasing in a legal framework. Okay, so sometimes administration have problems or don't have the commitment of their authorities. Okay. Other thing that in general, I think that Basque administration quite good level of green public procurement, but we need to consolidate in enough level of administration. Some level had better, some level of some administration don't have so better, so we have to consolidate. Other important item is that this program, the first program and the second program, were only for public program, for public purchasing. Okay, but I think that it's important also to push the green public procurement in private sector. Okay, so it's the new thing, and I tell you next is the new idea in the actual program. Okay, so we know that we have to improve the private sector also the green purchasing. Okay, other important item is to work better the offer to be and to prepare the offer to respond good, to respond with to the environmental criteria. And the last one is also really important. We had a lot of efforts to introduce environmental criteria, but sometimes it's really normal not to visualize the environmental results. Okay, so for us it's really important because the results always are in terms of percent of green public procurement, but not in terms of CO2. Okay, so for us this item is really important. Okay, next slide. As you can see, this program was really important for us and was really successful. We have a lot of awards, as you can see here. But for us, this is not the most important thing. The most important thing for us was, and this is because I I am telling to you more slowly is that the way that we close the program, okay? We work together with the companies, we work together with administration, we work together with the Department of Economy, and we put in the table the results, we put in the tables the action, we put in the table the things that we want, and between all of us, we close the program, and we also elaborate the previous one. So for us, it was really important because we are, all of us are actors of the same movie, and we all of us have to tell about the program. But one of these that I don't say, but I think that is really important. Also, when we develop tools, we develop criteria, we do training, this kind of things. For us, the most important thing is to be very practical. Okay, sometimes we prefer not to be so theoretical or so too political correct or correct politically, and we prefer to be more practical and to down things. Okay. Next slide, Victoria. And here we have, when we done this process, we put in all things in the table. This is the result, the new programs, you can say in English, in our website, so you can do, okay? And I tell some in some items the resume of the program. Next slide, Victoria. Well, in this program, we had very clear that the green public procurement is a strategic tool for the administration. That's the reason, because this is the first point of the program. Okay, the Basque administration had or need to consider the green public procurement with a strategic function to spread or to get or for achieving the policies, our policies, different policies, economics and environment policies. Okay. Next slide, Victoria. For us, other important thing in this program, the last years, we see or we show in different programs, in different plans, in different strategies, that green public procurement appeared in a different points of all of programs, all of plans, etc. Okay, so for us, it was really important to put coherence and to study all of different policies to get this coherence. Okay, so this program is coherent, totally coherent with this the most environmental policies that we have in the country, that are the circular economy, climate change, and natural environment and biodiversity. Okay, we study very good these different policies with the different objectives, and the programs and the lines and the objectives are coherent with these policies. Okay, for us it's really important because and it's important to when we see that like way, okay, because the environmental or the green procurement is very transversal and appears in all of plans, on all of strategies. Okay, so it's important to have in head all of these strategies. Next slide, Victoria. Okay, here you can see also that we had a strategic vision. I think that is normal, is a strategic tool, so we had to be in a strategic vision. Okay, here you can read, and the challenges are really connected with the challenge that we show when we close the previous program, but it's really connected with them. The principles: coherence, transparency, joint responsibility, cooperation, efficiency and innovation, and awareness raising and professionalization. Okay, here you can read in the program also. Next slide, Victoria. Here you have the strategic objectives. The more common is the percentage of the green public procurement. Like in the previous program, in this program also have priority categories, okay, that you can see in next slide. But the most typical objective is the percentage of the green public procurement. Here we have for 2025 the 55%, and to 2030 75%. Okay. Then we have other objective to get public entity and private entity signed or convinced in this program or connected with this program. And then we have another indicator that is the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goal, that we have one connected with the environment and procurement. Okay, so we measured last year this indicator, and then we have the other ones to get to better for next. As you can see here, this program have 2 steps. Okay, the first step is to 2025, and the second step is to 2030. Next slide, Victoria. Here you can see which are the priority categories. Okay, the previous program has another one. Some of them, for example, paper or this kind of things, when we close the previous program, we show that are quite good working in the Basque administration. So for us now, they are not priority categories. So they are landed. So is outside the program. We want to put our efforts in these categories that we have to work better. More of them or some of them are really important that is connected with civil works or building or seeing some this type of things. Okay. Next slide, Victoria. Well, here you can see that we have a very long vision to 2030. We have 5 areas of action. Here you can see which are a little bit different if we compare with the previous program, but in the other side that more or less the same. Each of the areas have 2 lines of actions, and then we have action plan to 2025 with 21 concrete actions. Okay. Then the next slide, Victoria. Then we can see, I don't tell because you can read, and there are a lot of action and there are a lot of lines of action. But one thing I have said, the first program was only for the Basque government. The second program was for all level of administration, and the third one is not only for administration, also for the private sector. Okay, you can see here that one of the line is to push or to create a new line for private procurement. Okay, because we have quite long experience in public procurement, but we don't have experience in private procurement. Next year, we done a pilot with different important companies here in Basque government, but the experience was really interesting, but the results not so much. Okay, so we show that in public environment or in public procurement is more easy or is easier to when you have environmental criteria using in other administration or in other places, but in private procurement is not so easy. So if you have environmental criteria for one company, it's really difficult to using the same criteria in other company, also in the same sector. Okay, so it's really difficult. So we have a very concrete line to work in this in the private procurement. The next slide, Victoria. Well, that's the reason, because we have a very concrete line to work in private procurement, that the management model is only for the public procurement, because the private procurement, we have to work more, okay? So how do we coordinate between administration? Okay, we are at the technical secretariat, the OBE, and then we have two different types of groups. One of them is more political and is the leadership of the green public procurement, and it's a interinstitutional committee. We want to be here all level of administration, and then we have the practical groups. Okay, is for execution, and here we have different types of groups. It depends on level of administration, or it depends of the item we want to work. Okay, the next slide. And that's more or less the program. Then you can see in our website is www.eob.eus. Then you have them in Spanish and in Basque, sorry, but we have a lot of environmental criteria, best practices, technical publications, annual reports, and we have all the contents of the trainings in our website. Okay, it's for free for all level of administration, or for all of person that we want to read. Okay, and then next one and the last one, I think, Victoria. In English you have the actual program, the previous program also, and in the middle you also have other publication that we tell the story of the green public procurement in the Basque Country. Okay, more or less the different step I tell you can read also in this publication. I finished. Again, sorry because my level of English, but if you need more information, or if you have another question, you can tell me now, or send in an email. But I'll do my best.
Thank you very much. This is very good. So as you've already experienced, it's far better than my attempts at Spanish pronunciation. Thank you for sharing that with us, and we'll share the link as well with the people in the webinar that you put on there, so people can access those as well, because that's a really useful resource for people to have a look at in their own time. So again, thank you for sharing that. Very grateful to you for your time this afternoon. We're going to move straight on to Warren a moment, but we'll pick up questions afterwards, if that's all right, Gwemi. And if anyone would like to think of any questions, or you think you're going to forget them, please do drop them into the Q&A now, or we'll ask you just to put your hand up at the end of the session and ask questions as you'd like to go.
Okay, perfect.
So, diolch yn fawr, thank you very much. So, Warren, can I hand over to you, please? And again, I'm happy to press the button on the slides if that's easiest.
Thank you, Victoria, and thank you, Gwemi. I think there's so much in the your own personal experience and that of EOV's leadership that aligns very nicely with the vision and approach that we're taking for KEED. So hugely grateful for you sharing that with us, including your lessons learned, so that others can benefit from that. So once again, thank you. So I'm going to cover what KEED is doing to share good practice and insights. And I think really fundamentally, our work in collaboration with the Welsh public sector, procurement and commercial communities does directly support the objectives of the Wales procurement policy statement. And this sets the strategic vision for public sector procurement in Wales. It also helps to define progress against the well-being goals being pursued for the future generations, putting the well-being in future generations, Wales Act 2015, at the centre of all procurement decisions. And I think we all have a responsibility to ensure that we are preventing problems and thinking about the long term while maximising opportunities to deliver economic, social, environmental and cultural well-being. So sharing good practice and insights goes to the very heart of the ways of working that are codified into the Wellbeing and Future Generations Act. And Cydrannu, this series of regular knowledge sharing sessions, is one way that we're extending our reach to engage with countries and public sector organisations around the world. Next slide, please. So our initial approach for international outreach is to use the Wellbeing Economy Alliance. And so where Wales, alongside Canada, Finland, Iceland, New Zealand and Scotland, were partner national governments. So a wellbeing economy is defined as an economy designed to serve people and the planet, and not the other way around. Rather than treating economic growth as an end in and of itself and pursuing it at all costs, a wellbeing economy puts our human and planetary needs at the centre of its activities, ensuring that these needs are all equally met by default. So globally, there are a number of established Wellbeing Economy Alliance hubs, which are indicated by the red markers on this map. So as well as national governments I've already mentioned, this includes regional groupings of countries, such as in East Africa and also the Iberian Peninsula, and states such as California in the US, and cities such as Mendoza in Argentina. Additionally, there are a number of hubs that are being set up. They're expected to launch soon, and these are indicated by the black markers on the map. And this includes Australia, Costa Rica, India, Puerto Rico, South Africa, and Sweden, the US state of Vermont, and also the city of Buenos Aires in Argentina. And by the end of 2022, the Wellbeing Economy Alliance had over 350 member organizations globally. So please do stay tuned for updates, as Victoria said, on future guest speakers for Cydrannu Knowledge sharing sessions. Next slide, please. So from a practical perspective, and I think this is really came out from Gweminar presentation also, that the importance of practical action. Since we began working on setting up Cyd, we've been focusing on developing solutions that are most valuable to Welsh public sector procurement and commercial communities. And one area that we've prioritised with the community is around gathering useful examples of what works and what doesn't, practical approaches and lessons learned in the form of case studies. But rather than waiting for the end of a project, which is typically when case studies are produced, we're looking at capturing incremental stories of change on the journey towards achieving better outcomes through procurement at every stage of the commercial life cycle. And by developing a standard template to capture this information and publishing these stories of change in the open on the Cyd website, we want to make it as simple as possible for the community to find the information, to inspire and guide their organisations along a consistent path. And as we continue to develop Cyd in all aspects, including the website, the organisational governance, the scope of work that it will cover, etc., we'll look at how to best connect different members of the community through different means. And this could facilitate connecting the people who are or were involved in the stories of change to share their perspectives beyond what's captured in those case studies with other members of the community. And again, this is about inspiring and guiding Welsh public sector organisations along a consistent path to achieve the goals of the Wellbeing and Future Generations Wales Act 2015, and by putting these at the very heart of all procurement decisions. Next slide, please. We're also very aware that there's lots of relevant and useful information available in the public domain. So we have a natural bias towards curating materials, be that content, tools or guidance, etc., rather than creation of new material. However, if we do identify that community needs that aren't currently being met by existing material, we'll recommend the creation of new artifacts, but in doing so, we would seek to do that collaboratively with relevant organisations who are also participating in the space. And these materials will relate to different stages of the public procurement journey. And our initial focus is on the Welsh Procurement Policy Note, WPPN 1221, which is all about decarbonisation through procurement to address CO2 in supply chains. We're also focusing on a relatively small number of categories in the first instance. So again, aligned quite nicely with what Gweminar was mentioning around starting small, but taking an incremental and iterative approach and building and scaling out as we learn about what works and what doesn't. Next slide, please. So another area that we're working on is we're very conscious that there's some kind of frustrations and limitations with the current spend-based proxy for reporting on carbon emissions. So what we want to do is look at how we can move incrementally away from that approach, building on what the information that we have on the basis of that approach, but towards achieving better estimates across a broader range of categories of expenditure, but moving much more towards reporting on actual emissions. And I think, again, inspiration from Gweminar's work around looking at the different categories of expenditure, prioritizing those accordingly, and really critically working with the market and in collaboration with different levels of government, I think is absolutely critical. So that's me in a nutshell in summary. But again, I think there's lots of parallels with what has happened in the Basque Country, and we can draw from that and look forward to additional opportunities to learn from others around the globe and to share our insights accordingly. So thank you very much, and I look forward to any questions that there may be.
Thank you, Warren. That's brilliant. And as you say, time now for questions. We've got about 15 minutes if we need it. Always say with these, we won't take the time if we don't need it, but we have up to 15 minutes. What we can do now, as I said, you can drop any questions you've got into Q&A. You can also raise your hand, and I believe how it will work is we can unmute you and you can ask the question yourself, which is always a good thing. I've also got a couple in my mind I'd like to ask, so we can always go on to those as well. So Angharad and Sumi will be keeping an eye on any Q&As and hands raised, so please do that. But while we just wait a moment, I can see there's a very practical question in the Q&A, Gweminar, about the link to the documents that you spoke about, and I think the question was about which link is the correct one, because they found a slightly different link online.
Sorry, yes, the link is correct.
Lovely. So
yeah.
I'm going to ask Angharad whether she can. I assume it's pretty easy to copy and paste that and drop it into the chat just so everybody can see it. Have that link as well. Brilliant. So I don't think we've got any hands up or other questions dropped in as yet. So if you don't mind, I've got a couple of questions. Gweminar, in your presentation, one of the things that really struck me at the outset, you said one of the successes in the first programme was around training and skills. And I was wondering whether there was anything specific that made that a success, because obviously it's a challenge that many countries are facing and many professions are facing. Was there something specific that was done that made that a strength in the first programme?
Okay, you ask about the training, the specific training. Okay, so yeah, well, for us, it was really important. We have different types of training. Okay, one of these was very concrete, how to introduce one environmental criteria in one part of the tender. Okay, so what, for example, done some different training about I don't know how to say, cleaning services, for example, only for cleaning services. And we done a very specific training to introduce environmental criteria in this type of tenders. Okay, very concrete. Okay. Then, and this we done when different type of tender. For example, one for services, other for buildings or works, civil works, and the other for products. Okay, so the administration asked us to be very concrete in the environmental criteria in the training. Okay. Then we done other one that was very successful training, that was we have a service that when one administration have a tender, have the opportunity to send the tenders, and we propose this type, the different types of environmental criteria. So we have the opportunity just to see the different mistakes or the typical mistakes in the Basque tenders. So one of the training we made and was very successful is about the typical mistakes in the environmental in introducing environmental criteria in tenders. So in general the training we made are very practical. Okay. This is the administration ask us, the very practical tenders, okay? And then the other important thing, maybe today is not so important, but some years ago, the legal framework, okay? So introducing environmental criteria is important, but we are inside the legal framework, okay? So, and it's very connected with the typical mistakes, okay? So this is another one. And the other one is very practical also, how to use, for example, the eco-labels in the environmental, in the green product procurement, are very concrete, very technical, and they are the most successful training in the between environmental administration.
Thank you. So yeah, using that insight and data to inform.
Yes. And we done, and we done another one that was also very successful, and was for companies, okay, for the private sector, and it was how to prepare a good offer, including environmental criteria. So on the other hand, if you speak with the administration tell you, oh, companies that don't know how to prepare, don't know how to. If we ask some concrete thing, they put a lot of information. Okay, so we done a training to prepare a good offer for companies, and it was really interesting training also.
Thank you. That's really helpful as we're starting to think about how that is going to work in the work that we're doing as well. And we've got questions now, which is brilliant. It always takes a little while for them to feed through. I'll kind of try and go down them. So we've got 5 in here at the minute. 5, I think, in a minute. So let's see if we can get through them. The first one, I think I'll aim at you, Warren, and see whether you have an answer to this one. But it's an anonymous one. But it's, how does Wales compare to Europe, USA, the rest of the world from a net zero perspective? So what's our position right now? Where are we in that space?
Sorry, can you repeat? I don't understand the question.
It's about how Wales as a country,
okay, yes,
compared to the rest of the world and Europe. So I know Warren has some thoughts on this, and then we'll ask you as well, Gweminar.
Thank you. It's a great question. I think if I could, I suppose, from the perspective of the Future Generations Act, Wales is a leader in terms of legislating for this area, which is very broad and encompassing in terms of sustainable development. So I think from that perspective, it's legislated for why this is important, which includes net zero, among other things. But then we've seen more recently the things like the route map for decarbonisation to 2030. So there are concrete plans in place. I think the opportunity is to really make sure that then we're not only benchmarking with other countries around Europe, the USA, and the rest of the world, but through initiatives like this, we then start to understand what others are doing, where we could learn from each other, because it's a collective effort to address these kind of existential challenges like climate change. So I think, yeah, that the coordination and collaboration through initiatives such as is absolutely vital. But the fact that Wales has legislated for this is really puts it in a leadership position globally.
So linked to that, Gweminar, are there any countries that you believe are leading the way for net zero and green procurement? I think you're on mute.
Yes, yes. Yes, we have a lot of support with bus companies, bus consultory. I don't know how to say in English. Yes, we have a good companies in environmental knowledge. Okay, and we have a lot of support because I'm alone pushing the green procurement, and that I have been alone, and I need it because and it's really important because sometimes we have the knowledge and you know the different sectors, but you need to help. You need help. Is very important. Very important.
That helps. Thank you. Hugh, you got two questions in here, I think. Hugh Griffiths. If you want to put your hand up and we can unmute, you can ask them yourself. If you'd rather I just ask them, I can do that. I'll give it 1 sec. Yes, he has raised a hand. Let's see if I can do that. Oh, sorry, I've written back. Oh, that's not letting me unmute you. And Howard, are you able to unmute Hugh in the background?
I'll try now.
Yeah. Nice to have a new voice, that's all.
No, I'm not able to, sorry, no.
Apologies, Hugh, I offered that up and now I can't even make it work to get you to ask your question. I will ask it for best of time. So Hugh is asking about whether you can provide an example of the support provided to businesses in the Basque Country to help move towards net zero. So that was the first question. So are there any examples of the support that businesses had to help? You're on mute, Granny.
Sorry. Another support is, I have said, we have a service that is really a lot of administration use it. That is the service to introduce environmental criteria and the standards. Okay, not only for introduce environmental criteria, also, for example, if they have another question in reviewing the offer of this kind of things. Okay, and we have the service also if we have a company that if the company don't know how to prepare an offer or this kind of things, we can also help it. Okay, so we have different. So here for me it's really important. You have a program, you tell the administration and the company that they have to do a lot of things, but you have to help them, okay, with services, with tools, with trainings. So and I think that is really important because if you have the same training for the Basque administration, for example, the message that you send to the market is the same, it's more coordinated. Okay, so for me it's really important. Same, for example, with if you develop a tool and the all level of administration of Basque administration use this tool, is better for the market because it have only one message or only one criteria. Okay, so for us it's really important also.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna keep going through these because we've got a couple of minutes. We've got a few questions in here. This is a nice one. What would be the single best piece of advice that the Basque Country could give us here in Wales to help us progress our agenda? So the one thing you say we should do, Gweminar?
Well, I think for me the most important thing is to create a group of administration, a group of IANT implicated in this. Okay, so if you create a good group of administration, for example, and work together, and you hear them, and you done the things that they tell you, and they see that you are a good tool for them, they go. slowly, but in general go. And that is really important. I have another advance, ¿vale? All the things you do, you have to be very sure that they are inside in legal framework. Okay, if you had an advice, or you give an advice, or if you do make a tool, and the administration can see that have an mistake or the problem with the law, is a very big problem. The confidence go down, and it's a very big problem. So help and work together. And on the other side, you have to be very, very, very critical, and very. You have to be very sure that the words are inside in legal framework.
Thank you very much. We have got two other questions, but we're pretty much out of time, so I'm not going to ask those. So apologies, Ksenia, and for the anonymous question on there, but we will see if we can get an answer from Gweminar offline and share those afterwards as well, because there's a couple of good questions in there. That just leaves me to thank Gweminar and Warren very much for being involved today. It's been brilliant, Gweminar, to get your insight, and really do want to thank you for being part of this first Cydrannu webinar that we've held. It's been a really good start, so we've got a good basis to go from here. So thank you very much, and of course to you as well, Warren. For those of you listening today, thank you very much for being part of this. We will be sharing it online, so please do let your colleagues know that this will be available, that they can watch back at any time. And we'll also be sharing the date and subject for the next one, which we're expecting to be towards the end of April. I think we've got a penciled in date of the 20th of April at the moment, but we'll come back to you with that. You'll see on the screen there is a QR code as well to join our user testing group as we're developing the services within Cyd. We are looking for commercial and procurement expertise out there in Wales to be part of our user testing group that meets on a regular basis to look at the services and to give feedback and to help shape what we're doing. So if you think you'd like to be involved in that, please do so via that QR code, or if you go to our Twitter and website, you'll see the links to join that group as well. We'd love you to be part of it. So thank you all for joining us today. Thank you again, Warren and Gweminar, and have a good afternoon, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much to you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.